and she's, stopped guns coming into the country. She's stopped coronavirus. She's been very proactive about a lot of, being against hate and Islamophobia and other things. So I've just so enjoyed seeing this woman be put in power and just absolutely crushing it and being so progressive and kind and a really great leader and a role model for not just young women, but for everyone. So I'm happy that there's a shift taking place. It's slow. It's a battle. It's not over, but it's slowly changing. Did I miss some questions while I was speaking? I can't read and speak at the same time. You can. Oh, do you believe that two moms or two dads can raise a kid the same or just as good as a straight couple? 100%. All a child needs is love, period. If a child has love in its life and it's encouraged and it's accepted and it is given love unconditionally, the child will be an incredible human being. That's all we need is just love. So yes, I am absolutely certain that a same-sex couple can raise a child just the same, if not better. Yes, to answer your question. If you are in danger, do one by hand. Okay. Trying to get some more of your questions here. Do you think original gender roles should be current in today's society? It's a great question, and we didn't actually get a chance to chat about this with Brandon, but the thing about gender roles is they are simply inventions of the patriarchy, and they're inventions of our society. They're created, they're not real. So we can redefine those at any time we want. And at the end of the day, it's not about right or wrong, it's about consent. It's about, as long as everybody in this exchange is happy and willing to be a part of this exchange and willing to be a part in this role, then there's nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about sort of traditional gender roles in a family, in a household, who does the washing up, who puts the kids to bed, these sort of very basic gender roles, then it's just all about all parties feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling respected, and wanting to be willing participants in that gender role. The only part where it becomes problematic is when people, especially women, are forced into those gender roles, and we don't want that. So as long as everybody is game for that role, I don't think there's anything wrong with gender roles, as long as everybody feels that they want to be in that role. When does masculinity become toxic, in your opinion? When it puts down other genders. Masculinity becomes toxic when it puts down other genders and puts down other people, makes other genders and other peoples the butt of a joke, and simply doesn't consider or leave room for other genders and other people. That's where it becomes toxic, where the mind frame or the conversation is all around the masculinity and the patriarchy, and there's not room for consideration of new ideas, new concepts. That's where we get into the toxicity, because it's closed-mindedness and it's ignorance. Do you think that all people should be paid the same despite their color, gender, etc.? Absolutely. The job should go to the best person for the job. So if that person is a woman, or is black, or is Asian, or Latino, or white, or trans, or whatever, if they're the best person for the job, they should have that job. And then certainly their pay should not be affected by the color of the skin, who they believe in, and whatnot. So, that, unfortunately, we still have a long way to go, and that is something that's disproportionately affecting minorities. Any other questions about this stuff? I like that we're talking about this. This is what do you think about teaching gender identity to kids? I think it's amazing. I think how we fight all this ignorance and all this hate and all this toxicity, it all starts at home. You cannot, it is literally impossible to be racist, to be prejudiced, to be any of these hateful things. It is simply impossible to be those things without being taught it. You have to be taught it because it does not come naturally to hate other people. You have to be taught it. You have to be told that we are to not like those people. We are to disassociate with those people. If no one ever teaches you that or explicitly shows you that, either directly, for example, a family member telling you this, or indirectly, maybe you witnessing something on a media program or a film that shows you a perspective, then you cannot be that person. So Jade Hutchins saying, do you care about the Black Lives Matter movement? You've ignored too many questions. I haven't ignored any questions, and I absolutely support the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm willing to answer any questions. Although there's many problems in the U.S., how do you feel about women in Italy and how they are treated? I find it is still stereotypical and their careers are biased. I completely agree with you. I think Italy and a lot of Europe, unfortunately, is still very behind, even where we see the U.S. today, even though there's still a ton of work to be done in the U.S., for kind of bringing down the patriarchy and leaving a more open world for feminism to be appreciated and for women to become more integrated into society in positions of power and wealth. In Italy and a lot of parts of Europe, I definitely see that they are still quite behind from adopting these things, and traditional gender roles are still very, very prevalent and very divided. It's very clear, unfortunately. So I'm hoping that changes, and more films and books are made that help us get more clarity and change. But unfortunately, these are things that unfortunately just time is the only thing that can change. Let me see here. I think it's amazing that you take the time to answer questions about this and share your opinions. They're absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Do you think men can join the feminist movement? How? Yeah, it's being a feminist just means that you want equality. That's literally all it is. It's so simple. It's not radical. It's never been radical. The feminist movement is not taking away from men or trying to break down men or trying to hate on men. It's simply about being equal. That's it. So if you say you're not a feminist, that means that you don't want equality. So that's a pretty close-minded view to have. So everybody should be treated the same. Everybody should have the same opportunities granted to them as anyone else, and nobody should be punished or put down or affected disproportionately for the way that they were born, that they had no choice in, whether that be the color of your skin, your gender, your sexual orientation, whatever it is. So I hope that answers your question. Trying to find more questions. It's kind of hard to scroll here. Any more questions? What's a powerful woman for you? I don't know what you mean, if you're thinking about like an actual person, or what does a powerful woman look like to you? I think if it's the first thing, I think Maya Angelou is an amazing woman, and there's so many. I'm a big lover of music, and I think so many women have accomplished such incredible things through music, through the stories and the lyrics they told through music, and that's definitely up there for me. Now, if you're talking about it as a concept, what is a powerful woman like to you? I just think someone who is confident, somebody who is comfortable in their own skin, and is unapologetic about who they are. I think that is powerful. Woman or man or human, period. Someone who's just really unapologetically themselves. That's the most we can ask. What do you think about the LGBTQ community? I think there are an amazing community of amazing people who need more advocates and need more space in the public sector and need more jobs, more opportunity, and less discrimination. So hopefully we can all open our minds to include our LGBTQ people in our lives and find ways that we can be better allies to them. Do you find gender inequality at your set or like an acting career, and how could that stop? There definitely is. I mean, there's a lot of like unwritten rules in Hollywood that there's more parts for men, there's more interesting parts for men, there's more interesting parts for young white men. We could talk about this absolutely all day, so I think there's a lot that needs to change, but I also think that, we do have a lot of incredible women who are coming into power, not just in the showrunner role, but also in the, executive of studios role as well. So I think we're in an exciting time where there's a big shift happening, and like any other shift, it's a snowball effect, right? It continues to gain momentum, it continues to pick up speed, and so I think we're in a time where a lot of these shifts are happening. I'm excited to see what the next, 20 to 30, 40 years look like, and how we all start to reap the benefits of women and other people who are less involved with society being more involved in society and having a bigger piece of the pie. And more control. So I'm excited for what sort of fruit the next 20 to 30, 40 years will bear because of the decisions that we're making now to radically change the systems that we've built. So that's a great question. Some more questions. I think this is getting a little kind of off topic. I'm happy to talk about these things, but we were kind of talking about masculinity and gender roles and what's it like to be a man in today's world, a gentleman. It's hard to find your questions. It's like it scrolls so quickly. Do you think what Apple Watch do I have? Oh dear, just like a black Apple Watch. Do you see yourself in the acting business 20, 30 years? I sure hope so. They're going to have to really try hard to beat me down. I'm no quitter. Trying to get some of these questions. This is tough. Any other questions, guys? Anything you want to ask me? here we go. Here's a question, a real question. Would you look at that? Do you think gentle gestures from men can be taken as bad things? It depends. What does this gentle gesture look like? I think, just being kind. I mean, that's also like you open the door for someone, or you pull out the chair. These are little things that are being a gentleman but it goes so much deeper than that. And again, like I was speaking with Brandon, it's just about being a kind, caring person, and just trying to put other people ahead of yourself, which ultimately and unknowingly will benefit you. Hard to see that in the moment, but definitely the truth. Hello from South Africa. How are you coping with COVID now? Just trying to keep myself in check, just trying to keep my mental health good by exercising, meditating, that kind of stuff. Helps me. But I'm getting stir crazy just like everybody else. A lot of you guys are, writing to me in different languages, which I don't understand. So that's, what do you do when you see other men being rude with a woman? I think you should definitely say something and speak up. Try to protect that woman, for sure. How do you think it should be normal for women to do traditionally? Do you think it should be normal for women to do traditionally gentleman acts? Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, this is what I'm saying. It's so simple. It just comes back to being kind, right? So it's just like women have the opportunity to be gentle women or gentlemen just as much as men have the opportunity to be gentlemen. And even this kind of stereotype is being broken down that, men also love having, nice things done for them just as much as women love having nice things done for them. Everybody likes to be taken care of. Everybody likes to be considered. So it's definitely not a binary thing where it's like this or that. Everybody can be a gentleman, gentlewoman, or anything in between. Do you think that masculinity and being a gentleman will be changing in the future? I think so. Yeah, I mentioned that. I think, what it means to be a man is constantly being redefined. Yeah, like the whole, maybe like what you thought of like your grandfather, photos of your grandfather when he was, in his 30s. That's sort of like this guy with maybe, an axe on his shoulder who's cutting wood and building things with his hands and lighting fires and, a guy who could just fix things. This is sort of a traditional idea of a man that we think, sort of the man that builds the house, the man that's tough and macho. But although those men were great men and did great things, they missed out on a whole other part of life that unfortunately they'll never know, which is the beauty of being open, of being vulnerable, of being in touch with your feelings and allowing yourself the permission to have the journey to heal yourself from your childhood traumas in your life and your past. So I think the more work we do on ourselves, the better it is for us to be with other people. Let's see. How do you know when a relationship is toxic? if your fundamental beliefs are being attacked. I think that's when if you don't feel safe physically for your life, that's toxic. If your fundamental beliefs are being challenged and attacked, that you feel, that you can't possibly exist within this space, that's toxic behavior. I think any putting down and verbal and psychological abuse, warfare, that's super toxic. And just generally, if you're not happy and you're falling into patterns, that I think that's okay. Sorry. I'm back. Someone's saying I'm asking you questions, you're just not answering them. Oh. Nowadays, the rates of violence against women have increased. What do you think about this? I don't know if nowadays they've increased, if you're speaking about like the last 10 years or you're speaking about the last 5 to 6 months that we've been in quarantine, but certainly from the people that I work with in different organizations that help women. One of them is No More Tears. You can follow them at No More Tears USA. It's an incredible organization that helps women who have been trafficked sexually or are simply in abusive relationships and have been abused. No More Tears USA. Definitely check them out. But women who have been in abusive relationships during this time have seen much more abuse. I spoke with the leader of No More Tears constantly on Instagram and getting her statistics and things that she's posting, which has been massively helpful. But, these women used to have a break where maybe their abusive partner would go away all day at work, and so there would be a break from the abuse. But unfortunately now, with COVID-19 hitting, a lot of these women and people who are trapped in abusive relationships, sometimes against their will, don't even have that break of them going to work anymore. And so we've seen abuse, domestic violence spike and rocket because of stress, because of people not having a break from their abusers. So it's definitely a problem that we've been seeing a surge of, certainly in this past 5 months. So I hope that we can support all our local organizations that help with domestic violence and help those people get out of those situations and bring those people to justice. So it's an unfortunate byproduct of this period, and there's been many bad ones, unfortunately, and not a lot of good ones. This is definitely a tough time we're living through. What is a feminist for the idiots who don't understand? A feminist is someone who believes that all people, especially women, should be treated equally. That's literally what it means. If you are a feminist, you want everybody to be equal. If women did a feminist march, how you attend and support? Well, under normal circumstances, I would say just show up and support. But now with COVID, being in large crowds is not. Have I ever been a victim of racism? And if you were, how did you feel? Racism. I mean, I'm white, but when I did come to Canada, I was different from everybody else. My name was different from everybody else. My food that I brought to class was different from everybody else. So there was definitely some prejudice against me culturally, being Italian from another country, from Europe. But I don't know about it being racist. But I definitely have experienced prejudice and judgment based on my name and where I came from growing up with other kids, for sure. there's anything that can be done about men expressing their feelings in a healthier way. A lot of women find themselves in dangerous situations because of this. Yeah, I think men generationally just have a ton of pain and a ton of work to do, and a ton of trauma and a ton of things that they've had to shoulder, that society hasn't really given them permission to feel, to work through, or to be transparent about. For men, I think there's just been a lot of propaganda since you're born to boys don't cry, shut up, don't cry, don't feel anything. That's what sissies do, and all this kind of stuff, and it's all a load of bullshit. And it only creates fragile masculine energy and toxic masculine energy, because there's no outlet for these people to feel, for these men to feel and process things that they need to process, that is ultimately going to make them an amazing partner and a balanced human being. So I definitely think therapy is an amazing thing, a safe place where you can talk, and the stigma around therapy being a bad thing or a bad word needs to definitely be broken down. And if you have a way of contributing to that in your own community, and telling men in your own community that, hey, like, if you ever need to talk, I'm here to listen, or if you want to talk to a therapist, you should. There's nothing wrong with that, and the more men hear that, the more they normalize it and then feel okay and accepted to do that. So I think that's a way we can kind of change that. Do you think men struggle with body image issues the way women do? I watched a guy talking about his experience with anorexia, and it shocked me that it happens to guys too. Yeah, I think oftentimes, when we talk about issues, we think it only pertains to our gender or our race or whatever things, and the more investigating we do, we often find that, these things are not gender specific or race specific, but they are definitely international. They are global human things that we feel. So of course things like body issues for sure happen to men, even though the media characterizes it that it's a predominantly female issue. Men have body issues as well. Yes, that's also something that needs to be talked about and addressed. And again, if you're parents of young children, that's something that you can start very young, just affirming healthy eating habits, healthy exercise habits, so that when they come into adulthood, they've already built that into their life, that they know how to eat well, to exercise, and that's going to keep them looking and feeling great. And that ultimately their happiness and the way that they feel in their body is more important than what some magazine tells them to look like. And if people don't love you for the way you are, then they can kick rocks. We should get a t-shirt made of that. If you don't like me for who I am, kick rocks. Maybe we can make that t-shirt happen. I'm going to answer one more question, and I'm going to sign off, because I've got some things to do. Question. So in Italy, we are pretty traditional about man's role. How did it affect you when you first moved? What was the biggest difference for you? I think I moved when I was a child, so there wasn't this radically big thing that I noticed when I got to Canada. But certainly, like, being an adult and visiting both countries, it's, night and day. Women in Italy are much more traditionally, stuck in the household, usually not working. And if they are working, it's something kind of, minimal, maybe a couple days a week, so that they can have time to be at home. And again, look, there's nothing wrong with these things inherently. If that person is happy, that gives them joy, and they want that life, all the power to them. We're just trying to break down things where people are kind of forced or pressured to be in a certain roles, that someone is forced or pressured to sacrifice a love a passion, a job, an education, to uphold, the mother of the house role. But if they want to do that and their partner supports them in that, then I think it could be a beautiful thing. All right, I'm going to sign off, guys. Love you guys. I hope you're doing well. Just try to be a good person and try to help people in your community. And if you see someone, smile. And you're going to have to smile extra hard because you're going to be wearing a mask. And they're not going to be able to see that you're smiling. So you're going to have to smile really hard so that your eyes start to smile. And then you can really let them know that you're smiling with your eyes too. So smile extra hard with your mask to let people know that you're smiling at them when you walk by. And yeah, love you guys. Have a great day. I'm out.
Questo è molto ne. Oh mio Dio do céu.